What's going on, guys? As you guys can see, for today we're talking about the Monroe Doctrine. As the title says, the Monroe Presidency. So, focusing on one of the most significant events during this time period as well. It's focusing on one particular thing, which is foreign policy declarations in U.S. history. The Monroe Doctrine, obviously. We'll be exploring what it meant for Americans' role in the world and how it shaped the future of policies. So with that being said, short lecture today. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. So as we start off today's lecture, as we always have, is an essential question, which is what is the Monroe Doctrine and how does it represent continuity in U.S. foreign policy? Go ahead and think about this question during the lecture, and you should be able to answer this question by the end of it. So let's go ahead and let's skedaddle. So as you guys can see for this slide, it's talking about the Monroe Doctrine. This is kind of just like a huge summary about what we're talking about. So basically in the year 1823, President Monroe established the Monroe Doctrine, right, which outlined U.S. foreign policy concerning European involvement in the Americas. It declared while the U.S. would stay out of European conflicts and existing colonies, it would expose any new European colonization or interface with the Western Hemisphere, right? So at first this wasn't enforceable due to the country's weak military, but over time it became a cornerstone for U.S. foreign policy. This is a perfect time to go ahead and just go ahead and write down the highlighted portions with the guide notes I have provided you guys, and just a little reminder that I will be taking a minor check at the end of the week. So this is very important to have. But with that being said, let's go ahead and move on. So now we're talking about the 5 main points that I provided you guys, which is concerning the Monroe Doctrine, right? So the first one being the Western Hemisphere was closed to new European colonization. Number 2 being that any European interference would be seen as a threat to the U.S. security. The third one being the U.S. will not interfere in European internal affairs or war. And number 4 being the existing European colonies in the Americas would be recognized. And the last one I want to go over is number 5, which is any attempt by Europe to control the American nations would be viewed as hostile. These are the principles that pretty much laid the groundwork for the U.S. dominance in the Western Hemisphere. So go ahead, like I said, go ahead and jot down the notes for this slide and for this lesson. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move on. So now in this slide, we're talking about the Monroe Doctrine global affairs. So the Monroe Doctrine just didn't affect the Americas, right? It had a global interference, as we're talking about in this slide, by discouraging European intervention in the Western Hemisphere, right? So it allowed the U.S. to assert its influence over Latin American nations. This policy that we're talking about, which is the Monroe Doctrine, paved the way for later U.S. interventions, right? Like the Roosevelt Corollary, right? And it established the United States as a global power in the 20th century. So yeah, go ahead and write down those notes. Like I've been saying, because I'm going to be doing minor check. I can't say that enough. It's a free 100, guys. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on. So as you guys can see in the slide, it says acquiring Florida. So meanwhile, the Monroe's presidency saw another major territorial change, right? So acquiring Florida, right? So Spain, stretched thin by South American independence movements, could not maintain control during this time, right? So Andrew Jackson led a military campaign into Florida under the, pursuing outlaws and runaway enslaved people. And this campaign led to the Adams-Onis, if I said that correctly, treaty, where Spain ceded Florida to the U.S., right? So along with the claims of Oregon Territory in exchange for U.S. basically collecting $5 million in Spanish debt. But yeah, this is what they acquired Florida, which is pretty cool, man. I've never been to Florida, never been to Miami, but I hear it's really, really cool. So yeah, just a little history on that. And go ahead and write down the guided notes. And that pretty much just sums up the lesson on today with the Monroe Doctrine, as we're going to be consulting the documents that I passed out in class, and I should have a little timeline that you guys can fill out there as well. Kind of just going through Unit 4. We've talked so much about some of these dates, as today, which is Monday, we went over the eras of good feelings. And man, Unit 4 is just kind of passing by us. By the time you know it, we'll be taking the exam, which is, I cannot say this enough, all writing, which we'll be working on writing this Friday. So yeah, I hope you guys watch this. If you guys missed anything in class or if you missed any notes. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and log off. It is about 9:15 on a Monday evening. So I hope you guys had a good Tuesday, and I hope I had a good Tuesday as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. See ya.